All right, everybody, welcome into episode 165 of the Leading into Leadership podcast. I'm super excited to have you joining me today. I'm sporting my Bronco colors today, folks. My Broncos have won 2 in a row. No, they did not get into the wrong podcast. This is not an NFL podcast, not a show about the Denver Broncos, but you know what? They've been so bad for so long that, man, back-to-back road wins have me excited. So I am absolutely sporting the Broncos jersey today. I hope you're not a Raider fan. That's who we've got this coming weekend. And it's about time. It's about time for Denver to beat the Raiders. But that's not what today's podcast is all about. But, you know, just something that I figured I'd share with you today. Really what I want to talk about here on episode 165 is one, kind of shifting some focus here with the show. And not going away from doing the interviews. I think the interviews that I have here on the show, a lot of you have said a lot of real positive things about those, about the organic nature of those conversations. And I want to keep those going. But I also really feel like, 165 episodes into this show, that one of the primary purposes behind opening this podcast, by launching this podcast back in January of 2022, was to support school leaders. If you listen to the show regularly, you know that one of my favorite quotes, Rory Vaden, we are uniquely positioned to help the person that we once were. Well, who's the person that I once was? I was that new principal who absolutely couldn't get out of their own way. I was that new principal who really struggled to manage their time, to be focused on the right thing, to be doing the work that truly made a difference and actually move the organization forward. I was the guy that just threw on the cape and to be the superhero for everyone. And obviously, I found my way out of that combination of having a great leadership coach and being able to hire my own team to really get clarity on their roles, to get clarity on my role, I think made a huge difference for me as a school level leader. And so now the reason that I do the work I do as a leadership coach, as a leadership speaker, and as an author in the leadership space is all about helping you, the early career leader or the leader who's maybe a little bit stuck in a rut or stuck in the mud, to gain that clarity and to walk in your purpose and to be intentional about the work that you do. And so when I launched the podcast, that was what I really wanted to do, was to do more and more and more of that. And I think I've gotten a little bit away from that. So I'm going to kind of do a little bit of a shift here. And we're going to start doing a little bit more of these types of episodes, these solo episodes, where I guess in essence, I'm going to be teaching a concept or talking about a particular concept specific to those struggles that we might have. And so today I want to talk about something that I know every school leader will recognize. It's those things that come and steal away your time. I like to call them time bandits, right? Now, we've all been there. You know, you walk into your day or you walk into your week and you have the best of intentions. I mean, you're planning to focus on what matters the most, whether that's instructional leadership or staff development or whatever the case may be. And before you know it, your day is over. And you've spent all your time running from fire to fire, dealing with crisis after crisis, and managing those things that don't directly move the needle. So let me ask you a question. What are your time bandits? What are those things that really sneak up and steal your time? You see, time bandits come in all shapes and sizes. These are the things that feel urgent in the moment, but over time, they really start to just drain your energy and they pull you away from the high impact work of your leadership. Now, I want to challenge you. As you're listening, I want you to take a moment to think about your own time bandits. You know, what are those things that in your day keep pulling you off track? I've created a list that I think are some pretty common time bandits that I've encountered over the years, both as a school leader, as a district leader, and now with a handful of years working with school leaders all over North America. Some of these might be familiar to you. So I just want to share my list to maybe generate some thinking of what are some of those things that immediately come to mind that steal your time. So here's some examples. Managing the budget. Now, it's always important, but it can take up a whole lot more time than we let it. That budget piece can really become quite time consuming. Managing facilities. That's another one of those time bandits, right? I mean, it could be a leaky roof, or it could be an HVAC issue, or it could be a request for utilizing the facilities, whatever. But is that really what you should be focusing on right now? Or is there somebody else who can do it for you? Managing student behavior. Always something that we have to deal with, right? I mean, yes, you have to address discipline, but not every single situation requires your direct involvement. And that's something I think we all lose sight of, right? We talk about delegation all the time. What are some things I can delegate? Student behavior is typically one of them. Not the most severe policy violations, but in most cases, you could probably delegate a lot of the student behavior things that you face. Here's another one, and I'll be honest with you, this one on the list, every time I talk about this, when I'm doing trainings in districts, when I'm doing, a keynote speech, or I'm doing a workshop somewhere, when I talk about time bandits and I get to this one, everybody laughs. But it's kind of one of those like painful laughs, like, oh yeah, you're right, that's so funny, and oh, I hate that so much. That's dealing with adult behavior, right? Adult behaviors, nobody told you this, by the way, right? When you went into being an administrator, the adults were going to be the thing that consumed your time the most. It's never the kids. It's always the adults, right? And sometimes the hardest part of leadership is dealing with the interpersonal conflicts among your staff, or behaviors of your staff. And those you typically can't delegate. You typically have to take those on, right? Here's another time bandit. Managing angry parents. Fielding those complaints and addressing their concerns can eat up hours of your week, especially now. Right now, complaining has become the new national pastime, and you are right there in the crosshairs, and they're going to come at you with every single complaint they can possibly think of. Again, this is one of those things. To whom can you delegate? Who can you share that with? Instructional leadership. Now, this isn't really a time bandit, but this is one of those things that does have demand on your time, or at least it should. But it's typically the thing that as school leaders, we will push to the side because we'll deal with the more quote unquote pressing issues, right? The things that are a little bit more on fire, rather than getting into the classrooms, getting into PLC meetings, getting into a curriculum adoption meeting, or whatever it might be. Okay. But the instructional leadership piece, it should be something that pulls at our time, but not that it's stealing it, right? Limited personnel, right? Trying to do more with less staffing. Man, that can pull you into tasks that aren't yours. Raise your hand, school leader, if you've had to cover a class this year. I'll bet you there's a whole lot of you who have had to sub a class, and probably more than once, right? I have a good friend who's a superintendent. He has even had to cover some classes, right? It happens, okay? Additional things that really demand or pull on your time are things like politics, just dealing with everything to do with politics, whether that's micro politics in your community or the macro level politics that right now really have education in the crosshairs. All that pressure from the district, from the school board, from the community, man, that can be really, really challenging, and it can pull you away from the stuff that really matters. And then finally, I'll share this. It's that expectation to fix it. And I put fix it in parentheses, or rather in quotations. And here's why. Because every single one of you, the expectation to fix it, the it is something different, right? And it could change from day to day to day, but you are supposed to be the fixer, right? You need to fix student achievement. You need to fix the performance of the athletic team. You need to fix the issue with that teacher. You need to fix the whatever, right? Look, the list goes on and on and on. I know there are more time bandits than these, but these were just some ones that really kind of stood out to me as the things that can steal away your focus away from those most important parts of your job. The parts where you're actually leading your school with clarity and with purpose. So what can you do about it? How do you stop these time bandits from robbing you of your most valuable resource, your time? Here's where it gets a little bit practical, right? First, recognize that you don't have to do it all, right? Not every problem is your problem. Some of the things that are on this list, like managing facilities, handling minor student behavior issues, they can be delegated. I already talked about that, but think about that. What are the things that you can hand off? Right? Trust your team to handle what they can so you can stay focused on what truly matters. And if they need some support and they need some coaching and they need some growth, that's also your job. Coach them up so they can take those things on. Next, start asking yourself, does this align with my big picture goals? Does this align with where we're trying to go? What I see as my really clear long-term vision of my organization, of my school. Now, if it doesn't, that might be something you need to delegate or just say no to. You don't have to say yes to everything, and you don't have to solve every problem in real time. Leadership isn't about being everywhere at once. It's about being intentional with your time. Remember, focusing on high-impact leadership actions like developing your staff, building culture, improving instructional practices, that's where your greatest influence lies. That's why they hired you to be the principal. Not to deal with parents, not to deal with the leaky roof. Yes, that falls in your purview, but you need to be able to find others who can help you to take those things on. Now, I realize that recognizing the time bandits is only the first step. So you also need tools and strategies to reclaim your time and lead with intention. And that's exactly what I'm building with my new digital course in the Principal Academy. If you want to dive deeper and you want to get exclusive access, behind the scenes content, some early bird pricing, and special offers, I encourage you to join my mailing list. That's roadtoawesome.net. Make sure you get there and sign up, because when you do, you'll be the first in line for all the exclusive content and the offers leading up to the launch of my new course, Take Control of Your Leadership, a road to awesome map for early career principals. We're ready to talk about real actionable strategies. And we're here to help you identify your time bandits, to delegate more effectively, and to regain control of your schedule so that you can focus on what really matters. Now, you don't want to miss this. Trust me, the early access bonuses are going to be so worth it. So get over to roadtoawesome.net, get on the list, and let's take back your time together. Now, thank you so much for joining me this week here on Leaning into Leadership, episode 165. I hope this episode has helped you to reflect on the time bandits that might be lurking in your daily routine and how you can start taking action to fight back. Remember, leadership isn't about doing everything. It's about doing the right things. And with the right tools, you can reclaim your time and lead with clarity. So until next time, keep leaning into your leadership. And thank you for joining me here on the Leaning into Leadership podcast.